today as we celebrate Our Lady of Sorrows, we hear about Our Lady at the foot of the cross. And this is the grace that she brings us to the foot of the cross as well. So I was praying this morning, I was reflecting over the fact that no one in this life gets out of here without suffering. There's all manner of suffering that happens in this world, whether it be physical suffering or emotional suffering or mental suffering or spiritual suffering. There's all sorts of that suffering. Can be anything from loneliness to the suffering of cancer within the body and what that brings emotionally and all that. And we look at all these different types of sufferings and we look and we say, well, we can choose what we do with that suffering. Some will try to kill that suffering within them, for instance, the suffering of loneliness, by just spending all sorts of ways of dissipation in video games or watching online or texting or whatever else in order to get rid of that feeling of emptiness. But it will pervade. None of us get out of this world without suffering. So we can choose what to do with it. Do we try to ignore it? Do we moan and cry and say, oh no? Or can we use it? Can we use it? Can we find meaning in it? Mary was able to find meaning in her suffering in her fiat. Or let it be done to me according to your word. At the foot of the cross, her heart was pierced with a sword. But in this, she would have been more sorrowful if she wasn't at the foot of the cross, right? If she had walked away and said, this is too much and I can't deal with this suffering, and walked away, it would have been an even deeper sorrow for her not to be there with her son. And we see in this, in the gospel today, we see how Jesus points and says, woman, behold your son and behold your mother, that these then were her labor pains as she was giving birth to the church. These were her labor pains. So there was meaning in this suffering. And when we're finding our suffering, we can say, okay, I'm going to bring this to Our Lady. And sometimes we think, well, if I offer it up, then it'll go away. Well, no. Well, a lot of times it doesn't. There are times it does, but a lot of times it doesn't go away. But it gives us then meaning, direction, purpose, and so therefore courage to be able to endure it. So, well, whether you have big sufferings or little sufferings, I encourage you to do this. It starts with training ourselves to do this with the little sufferings. And so as I was praying this morning and sitting on the pew, my backside was feeling a little bit painful. I said, well, okay, I'm gonna practice what I preach here. I'm gonna actually give this to you, O Mary. Give this to Jesus as an offering. Perfect it, make it good, and use it as you will. She knows what it is to be at the foot of the cross. She is Mother, to walk with us through our suffering as she walked with Christ in his suffering. She knows that deep suffering within her heart, a martyrdom greater than any martyr in this world. So let us turn to Our Lady of Sorrows and ask for that help. Like her, to give Jesus a fiat. Let it be done to me according to your word, as we give all of our sufferings, all of our pains, all of our sorrows, all of our trials into her hands. Not that we're not hoping that they don't go away, but at least while we do have them, using them for some purpose, for the glory of God, for our transformation, for the healing for the world, for conversion for sinners.